Hello everybody, today trade cap for March 12th, 2026. I took two trades today. So one on Palantir long for a loss and one on AMD shorts. So pretty much I'm gonna be talking about what opportunities are in the market, right? What are we doing? And yeah, so this will be a very informative video. So if you're struggling, this will help you a lot, right? The concepts I'll be talking about are going to be pretty advanced because trading is not easy. But yeah, let's get into the video. So what are we doing for the month, right? So we're up only $9,000 for the month, which is honestly decent considering the market conditions we're in, right? We're really surviving, right? We're really surviving, and somehow like I'm not ending these days off red because I'm having nice trades after, right? I'm waiting for confirmation and was taking A+ setups. I'm letting the probabilities play out. And also, let me also talk by saying that if you guys like this is a trader cap, right? But I also have a video I posted today on the Discord server, right? Live trading session. That is an insane video, right? Pretty much just recorded myself trading live and also talked because I talk way too much. So I pretty much just talked about the entire trading session live. Literally took the trades live as well. So pretty much showed the Palantir trade and also the AMD trade. I also talked about the breakdown. So that video is honestly better than this video. But I'm going to be talking about the market as a whole, right? I'm going to talk about the market as a whole, what we're doing, and what I saw today. So let's right into the video. So what are we opening up on QQ and SPY, right? So QQ and SPY, let me just pull up my disc real quick and talk about the game plan I called out. So 7:47 a.m. QQ SPY opening below a previous day's lows. While QQ SPY break pre-market low, target liquidity to the downside. If QQ and SPY can reclaim previous day low level, then we can be patient, see what names are showing strength last weakness, right? AMD shorts on watch. Nvidia under a previous day low as well. So you can kind of see, right? Like the names I'm calling out, right, are also having nice moves. I'm also trading, you know. So Palantir on watch as well. So even before market open, right? Palantir, which is the name I took, ended up taking a loss, but I'm calling it out, right? So you should be able to formulate a game plan before market open, right? You shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't be stuck to a bias, right? Like if this happens, I'm only doing this, right? You should be flexible, right? You should have a long scenario and a short scenario because anything can happen in the markets, right? Not one thing's just gonna happen, you know? So I'm biased on both sides, right? Saying that if we do this, I'll do this. If we do this, then I'm looking for this. You know, you have to be very flexible in the markets, right? It's a skill. So Palantir on watch at 812 above pre-market high because there was news with Nvidia. Plus, we're also above our previous day's high / near it, while QQ SPY near low of day. So this name has a chance to kind of break above our previous high level and show relative strength. So that was also on watch. So 836 Palantir calls on watch and Palantir calls. So I'm just gonna skim through this and then talk about pretty much what I saw. And then got stopped down Palantir at 851 AMD puts on watch in AMD. Holy 25%, very bearish price action. Because we kind of saw this break in retest immediately of this pre-market long QQ and ended up having a very nice delivery to the downside, very aggressive delivery to the downside. So stopped on trailers. This price action is crazy, right? Because we're going up and down $1 candles in this market, which is literally insane. And so yeah, so what did I say on Palantir, right? So on Palantir, right, as usual in the pre-market game plan I had, right, I had Palantir on watch, especially above our pre-market high and our previous high level. So literally in 1 minute, we broke above and then we end up coming back down. But what matters the most is not us coming back down. What matters the most is do we hold these levels for that move to the upside, right? So we end up holding this previous high level very nicely and this pre-market high nicely. So at this point, right, I was very interested in Palantir, right? Palantir was at a high of day while QQ and SPY were near low of day, right? Near low of day / like in just chop, right? So unfortunately, right, on this trade ended up not playing out / delivering just because there was no relative strength on this name, you know. And so let me kind of show you guys what I mean, right? A kind of visual example will be better. So what happened here, right? So Palantir above previous day highs and lows. QQ just consolidating, nothing really happening too much, right? We're still below our previous day lows, so still bearish. But what's happening, right? So what was my entry right here? So simply, right, had an aggressive entry on Palantir just based off this reclaim of this 5-minute range high plus this order block, right? I know Palantir price action is kind of choppy, so I had to kind of be aggressive in this name to kind of enter this name, right, for a good entry. So ended up taking calls pretty much at this candle, not the closure, above this order block, stop loss below this order block, candle closure, right? So very simple risk reward targeting these key levels, key objectives on the higher time frame. So ended up entering this trade and getting stopped out within 3 candles. So that's pretty unfortunate. Nothing we can do about that. And the reason why we kind of got stopped out, right? We can kind of understand why. So QQ and SPY are near hive day at this area. And SPY ends up rejecting hive day very sharply, our 5-minute range high, and just coming back down. And we ended up just breaking lows. So QQ and SPY, right? QQ is also struggling to kind of break our 5-minute range high plus a 604 key level. So we're just end up just rejecting, right? We clearly see strong sellers at that 604 area on QQ, and we end up just coming back down, right? So because we have no relative strength on his name and QQ SPY coming back down, Palantir just end up just coming back down and with like a aggressively too, right? So that's why you kind of have to like understand your risk to reward. Think about it. If you're not exiting over here and you're exiting down here, instead of exiting for 20%, right, which is also a big, pretty big stop, right? You're entering for like you're like exiting for like 50% or like even more, you know. So you have to understand when you're wrong very quickly in these markets, right? Especially when you're trading these names, especially like Palantir, when the price action is choppy slash like we don't know for sure if the relative strength, right? So also when you be aggressive, you have to also size appropriately, you know. So that's also something you have to understand. So how long is this video? 5 minutes long? Yeah, so that was a trade on Palantir. Unfortunate trade, but if QQ Spy actually did end up breaking out of high of day, then this trade honestly would have had a nice move up. But you know, it is what it is. That's just how trading is. We let the probabilities play out, and we were wrong in this scenario, right? So around I took this loss, right? You know, I took a step back. I'm like, you know what? I need to see what QQ Inspire are doing. I need to wait for us to break our range now for me to be able to take a trade, right? If you guys watch a live trading session, that's literally what I said. You know, for the guys, the most dangerous thing about trading is not the first trade you take or the first loss you take or the first win. It's the trades you take after that first loss or win, specifically loss, right? Because that's the second trade, third trade, fourth trade you take are the trades that are with emotion, right? Those are the trades that you're trying to make the money back, right? And that's what you should not be doing, right? Because if you're taking if you're taking a trade and your first win is a loss, then that means the market conditions are usually bad, right? That means we're seeing some reversals or some choppiness, right? So you want to be able to wait and understand that for your second trade, your third trade, right? That's a very, very big part about having a high win rate, because usually you will take a loss on your first trade, but if you're patient enough and the market is looking decent enough, then you can have a second trade. If the second trade has nice continuation, then you can actually end up green for the day and actually end up very green for the day if we have a very nice continuation, right? If QQ and SPY end up having a pop and fade, which is simply some buy showing up and a strong push to the downside, then we could have gone a very big downside move potentially on AMD and these other names, you know. But yeah, so that was a Palantir trade. Now let me talk about AMD. So what happened on AMD, right? So AMD had this name on watch, right, as I talked about earlier in Discord, just because we're kind of opening below our previously low level. That's simply all I'm looking at. We're opening below previously low level. So if QQ Spy can show bearish price action, this name can also show weakness. Very simple, right? So was not really looking at this name too much because I was more focused on Palantir. But then after I took that loss on Palantir, I took a step back. I'm like, you know what? I want to wait for QQ Spy to kind of show weak price action, break out of a range, show weakness underneath a key level, right? And that's what ended up happening, right? So after I took that loss on Palantir, I think around here, I'm taking this trade, right? So around 843, right? What's happening on AMD, right? At 843, we are like just showing bearish price action, but we ended up breaking our low of day on SPY, right? QQ also ended up showing a very, very bearish reaction, especially a strong candle closure below a pre-market low, right? We end up having a very, very clean reaction on QQ. If you just think about it, right? We end up rejecting the 604 multiple times and end up just showing a very nice delivery to the downside. So very bearish price action to begin with, right? So after I saw us showing bearish price action on the indices, right? I'm looking at trade now names that are weak to begin with, slash that are on my watch list, slash that are below our key levels, right? Because that's just high probability, you know? So ended up taking AMD, right? Was patient, right? QQ Spy bearish, right? So if you guys watched the live trading recap, I kind of was cautious, right? Kind of wanted to wait for extra confirmation because I took a loss on Palantir, you know? Taking a loss is never easy. Like even me, taking a loss sucks ass. Like I don't like losing, you know? I don't like losing. I'll do everything I can to win, you know? So that's how you have to be as a trader, you know? So I wait for confirmation. And so what to enter this trade off of, right? So saw QQ and SPY showing bearish price action. We ended up coming back up on QQ and retesting this pre-market low. But we ended up showing a very strong wick, which means that there's strong sellers in this area, right? A very strong top wick means that buyers brought the price up and then sellers brought the price back down below our key level, right? So price action is important to know, but price action around key levels is very important to know, right? Because that will show you if we're maintaining bullish or bearish market structure, you know? So we end up holding bearish market structure, end up having that nice move down very aggressively, right? So I was looking at AMD to play simply off of knowing that QQ Spy is rejecting this pre-market low, plus we're rejecting this fair value gap, right? I kind of want to see us show this strong wicks below this fair value gap plus this 200 key level, right? I know we're overlapping above this 200 key level, so I want to see us reject this fair value gap, close below this 200 key level, and then I can play puts safely, knowing that I'm entering below. I'm entering with confirmation, QQ Spire dumping. I'll have a fair value gap plus this 200 key level as my support if this trade comes back up, right? So all these little things I have to have in mind for that second trade to look decent, for me to enter with more size and also with more confidence, right? So enter, and bro, ended up taking this, bro, ended up entering this trade at this candle closure right here. Stop loss would have been simply above this fair value gap, and then I'd be targeting my TP1 was simply at this 198 level, which is also a level on the higher time frame, right? Not exactly 198, right? But it's, I think, yeah, no, let me actually double check, but it's pretty much 198, right? So the level I was charting was where is this? I was targeting these lows. Okay, I was targeting these lows, 198 lows over here, right? I even said in the live trading section that this chart's so choppy and there's no kind of clear direction for levels. So this was kind of the nearest level for my trade. So this 198 level was my first TP, right? You kind of like there, it's really hard to kind of find levels on this trade because we're in such shit price action. Like look at this price action, right? But the next but after we get past that first TP, the direction was a little bit more clear, right? So if we can see AMD break below that first TP, which is at 198, the next direction on AMD was going to be this 190. This first of all, that's for my bad, not this one, not that. It would have been this 196, this 197 essentially, right? So after, if we can show a clean break below that 198, the next TP would have been below this hourly low, which is 197, right? So we ended up just wicking off that low, which is kind of unfortunate, but honestly, it wouldn't have mattered that much because QQ spot ended up reversing sharply, right? So that's something you have to kind of keep in mind is that we end up pretty much bottom taking this TP. I don't think it touched it exactly, but it's so close enough where like you should end up taking your trims anyways, right? I ended up taking my trims even in the live trading section, right? I ended up taking my majority off at these lows, right? Stop loss would be a little bit more difficult to kind of measure for your trailers because there's not a lot of market structure here involved in this trade, right? You have this fair value gap here, which is ginormous, so it's kind of hard to like manage your risk properly. But you have two options here, in my opinion, that are the best, right? You have the candle by candle option, or you have this order block right here. And the best option, honestly, would have been this order block. So simply, right when we close above this order block, you should have stopped at your trailers, right? I ended up stopping my trade around in this candle while I was forming, right? Because QQ spot ended up having a strong pop, right? I'll just show you guys because it's right here, right? Strong pop off these lows, right? QQ ended up bouncing very, very aggressively off the 600 key level. As I also mentioned in the live trading session, right? The 600 key level is a key level on QQ and SPY, right? You'll see strong buying and selling. So we end up reversing off the 600 key level very aggressively. So end up just closing AMD trailers. I think it's for a small win, so not as bad, but still, is what it is. Kind of I managed it what the market gave me, right? So yeah, I think I pretty much talked about everything, right? I think I talked a little bit too much about everything. That's so a lot of information, right? Very simple trade on AMD, very simple trade on Palantir as well. Just simply ended up not playing out because one, I was aggressive, so I ended up taking a bigger loss, right? Number two, QQ and SPY ended up rejecting, so QQ Palantir ended up coming back down. And number three, Palantir had no relative strength, unfortunately, even though it was above our key level, so it was a good loss. The Palantir trade could have been a little bit better. I could have entered a little bit more earlier on this trade, right? But honestly, like, I'm not gonna say too much, but what the hell is NVIDIA doing? NVIDIA is showing relative strength, by the way. NVIDIA is reclaiming our key levels while QQ spot near a low of day, but it's kind of so late in the session where if you kind of take this trade, you have to enter smaller size and having a nice risk just because we're late in the session, right? What else did I talk about? Oh yeah, and also in the live trading session, I also talked about Palantir again for the reclaim entry above this previously high level, where I pretty much talked about how higher time frames work, how like if in the 1 minute chart we're seeming like we're breaking levels, but we're reclaiming back up, right? On the higher time frame, that means we're pretty much retesting the same level, right? Because think about it, on the 1 minute time frame and 30 minute time frame look different, right? So in one scenario, right, on the 1 minute time frame can look bearish. But if we reclaim that level on the 1 minute time frame, right, the 30 minute time frame still looks good. So I was talking about that, and that's why reclaims can still look good and why they are still an entry model, right? Especially when we're above our levels and we are showing relative strength. So that Palantir trade ended up working out. Didn't take it, but I did give the idea of the live trading session, right? So you'd be targeting the Hive day simply, right? Hive day right here. So pretty decent trade, right? It would have been a 1 to 2.5, but your risk would be even smaller, right? It'd be simply below this pre-market high, right? Because if we end up closing below our pre-market high, we're probably going to close below our previously high as well, right? Just because of off this price action alone is strong candle closure. So yeah, it's a long trade recap. Holy shit, 14 minutes long. Bro, I don't know. I've been thinking of like making trade recaps shorter, but like the problem is there's so much information to talk about in these trade recaps that like it's hard to like make them short. And also like it's kind of hard because only people that are watching these trade recaps, right, are people that like want to improve as traders and are options traders, and that's very rare, right? Those two things are very rare, right? 99% of options traders, guys, are straight degens, right? They don't know what they're doing at all, and they don't want to learn. They don't want to learn, right? That's why you see trading is gambling. But I clearly just made a 14-minute recap time what the market did, right? So I don't know, bro. I'm just yapping. But yeah, that's pretty much a trade recap, right? One trade on penalty for a loss, and then one AMD win. So not a bad day. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, comment down below. Don't forget to join Discord down below. And yeah, peace.